Hey guys, Dr. Dex here. Today we are going to continue on teaching you how to lay out your own staircase. So this is part 2. If you've seen part 1, if you haven't seen part 1, first click subscribe and then go back and watch part 1. So this is part 2. We've already explained about rise and run and how to figure out how you're going to lay out your stair jacks, what the measurements and what the numbers you need to do that. Now I'm going to show you a little bit about materials and actually how to use the square to get your layout transferred onto a piece of timber, okay? So the first thing you got to know, when you're cutting out stair jacks, you have to use a piece of 2 by 12. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you already know what this stuff is. If you don't, then you don't follow very closely.
Or you must be new here.
Or you're new. This lumber is called pressure-treated hemlock. They call it pressure-treated hem fir because it's mixed with Doug fir, but most of it's hemlock. So these little marks in the wood, these are called incisions. Calvin, please put that up on the screen. Incisions. And so this is called incised pressure-treated lumber. It's kind of a reddish tone. They put it in a vat of chemicals. They put the incisions in the lumber to force the chemicals deeper into the product because it doesn't absorb as well if it's just smooth. They have to pressurize it a little differently when they do it that way. So this is what's available to us in the Pacific Northwest. I know a lot of people on the East Coast, they've never seen this before. They think it's from an alien planet. Did you make this? Where do you get it? Blah, blah, blah. West of the Rockies, usually. East of the Rockies, you're not going to see this kind of material too often. So now that that's taken care of, okay, this is pressure-treated hemlock. It's a 2 by 12. Now, usually a 2 by 12 is 1.5 inches by 11.5 inches. This one's been sitting around for a minute. This one's 1.5 inches by 11 3/16. So our lumber widths can vary a lot in the Pacific Northwest. This board could be 11 inches, 11 1/8. It can go all the way up to 11 3/4. So that's going to be an important topic in a few minutes when I get into it. But for right now, all you need to know, you have to use a piece of 2 by 12. Why do you ask? Because when you start cutting stair jacks out of this board, to code, you have to have at least 5 inches from the inside cut to the bottom of your stair jack to pass code. Okay, I'm at 5 1/4, or about 5 1/8 inches, so I'm clear. So if you don't have 5 inches from the bottom of your stair to the end cut of your stair jack, it's not going to pass code, or it technically won't pass code. You might sneak it by the building inspector, or if you're not having it inspected, whatever. I'm just letting you know that that's what the requirement is. So with a narrower piece of lumber, you're not going to get that 5 inches. It has to be an 11.5 inch or a 2 by 12. Okay, 2 by 12. All right, these are stair jack layout tools. These little guys clamp on to your square to help you lay out stair jacks. Now in our previous video, we know that our rise was 7 1/4 inches, and I'm just going to use a little bit of blue tape to help you identify on this square because it's kind of hammered. So we're going to use the inside of the square for our layout of our stair jacks. Okay, so there's 7 1/4 inches. Okay. Now normally I just run a pencil line across here, but I doubt you guys could see that, so that's why I'm using some blue tape. So we know our rise was 7 1/4, and our run was going to be 11.5. Okay, there's 11.5. So one thing I want you guys to know is when you're laying this out, there's a marked line that's straight across 90 degrees from this 7 1/4 inch. There's a line back here to match, and this one doesn't matter as much, but from here there's a line back here that's the same. That's going to be prevalent as we lay out, and I'll explain why in a minute. Okay, and I'm going to lay this out in Sharpie just so you guys can see really good what we're doing. So we know that our rise is 7 1/4, our run is 11.5. Okay, so what I've done is I have put those 2 points on the top edge. Now when you're grading framing, when you do a staircase, I'm cutting everything out of one board, so this isn't so much a big deal to me. But if you're using multiple boards, you want to grade those boards from thickest to thinnest, and you want to lay out your thinnest board. Why do you ask? Because when you put everything on a pair of sawhorses, if you have boards that are different thicknesses and you try to cut them out, if you're going to cut them out all at once, it's just a bummer to do layout. When you lay out with your thinnest board, everything will fit and everything will be nice and tight and square, and you'll understand that in a minute when we start cutting these out. So now that I have my layout of my jack, I'm going to take these little adjustable layout tools, and they screw in so they clamp right onto the clamp, or these clamp right onto the square. So I'm going to take one and slide it on, and I'm going to tighten it down just like that. I'm going to take the other one on this side, tighten it down as well. Okay, so now whenever I slide this, I have the same rise and run. Another thing you guys might want to realize, if you have a board that has a lot of wane on it, these are not going to work too good. So try to pick a board that has a nice tight edge if you can, or your thin board, try to orientate it so that you have a nice tight edge so that you can run these stair jack clamps on it. There's another brand out there that this is much deeper. I wish I had a pair of those. I don't even know if they're made anymore, but if anybody, you know, has a link, leave it at the bottom of the page so we can all find those, because this would be handy if these were about another 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch deep, because this is all you're riding on is about a 3/16, maybe a 1/4 inch. So you just got to be careful when you're doing your stair jack layout that you keep these 2 clamps tight against the top of your stair jack. Okay? All right, let's get down and dirty. So, you know, basically I can run this thing almost all the way to the very top edge, and I'm going to start laying out my stairs. We know that we need 3 stairs. Okay? Now here's where the back end of this square comes in handy. As I move this down, I could try to look and find this point and match it perfectly to here. But if I take the back side of this level, or excuse me, if I take the back side of this square and I line it up with this line right here, that's where my next down line needs to go for my stairs. Okay? So I've lined this up. This looks good right here. Now I can draw my next stair jack. Okay? Then I'm going to slide this down again, and I'm going to line it back up right here. And you can see it basically, the tip meets the tip. And then I'm going to draw another one. Okay, so now if I take a minute and go, okay, how many jacks are we making? 3. 1, 2. Here's my third one, but I need to keep going. I need to keep drawing this because I need to be able to find the nosing. Okay, now I have my 3 jacks. Now here, this is really important. Write this down if you're new, or try to remember this if you can. Because remember our rise. The rise of our stairs are 7 1/4 inches, right? 7 1/4. Your bottom step, you have to shave the thickness of your decking off the bottom rise. Okay? So I need to make this bottom rise 6 1/4. So there's 6 1/4. I'm going to mark it with the Sharpie. And again, 6 1/4. I'm just going to do it for giggles. And what you can actually do is you can take your square with these on it still, and you can actually put these to the back side of the staircase, the bottom side, line it up, and draw that out. Okay, so now there's your bottom rise. 6 1/4, 7 1/4, 7 1/4. Here's the end of the staircase. Okay, this is the top. Here's your top. This is your bottom down here. So we need to do some more drawing though. And let me get into this. Okay, so here's the top of your staircase. Now, we need to talk a little bit about connection. How are you gonna connect your stairs to your deck? There's a couple different ways you can do it. Okay, so I'm gonna do a crude drawing here to try and help you guys out with how we're gonna attach our stairs. Here's your deck. And this is the frame. Okay. Let's just say your frame is 2x8. All right. You don't have your decking on it yet. Here's your frame. Normally, your stairs are going to start here. Okay, so normally what I do is I frame in a solid block of like 4x6 or 4x4 or whatever you got. I frame into here. I frame into here if I can. And then I have a solid block to hang my stairs from as well. So what our goal is to have 11.5 inches from here to here, and 11.5 inches from here to here, and 11.5 inches from here to here. Basically, you got to create the way that you're going to attach your staircase to the deck. There's several different ways to do this. This is how I do it. If my deck frame is bigger than 2x8, I have to make the appropriations so that I can either flush this board behind this first 1.5 inches, or if I need to push it in front of it, here's another deck. Let's say this is 2x10. And your stairs are going to start here instead of flush. Okay?
What do these X's mean?
These X's are simulated 2x8 material that are helping frame. This is from the side view. Looking from the side. So this is a piece of material, like you'll have screws going through here like this and like this. Okay? So this, and again, our variance here is we still want 11.5 inches from here to here. So on these two jacks, this cut, it changes. So this cut is going to be 10 inches, but this cut's only going to be 8.5 inches because we're adding an extra 2x to the back. So that's something you need to figure out before you start cutting out your stair jacks, because I'll show you why in just a minute. For all intensive purposes, we're going to frame our staircase like this, okay? Not like this. So now that we know we're going to have a 2x8, once this is cut, we're going to have an 1.5 inch piece of framing in front of the stair jack right here. And we know we're going to have a piece of 1.5 inches behind here. We need to subtract to be able to keep our jack, our finish work at 11.5 inches. We need to cut an extra 1.5 inches off the back side of our staircase so that this staircase doesn't end up breaking out and being 13 inches instead of 11.5. Okay, so you always gotta, it's always better to pre-plan these out before you cut anything. And you gotta think about what your final run's gonna be, and that all has a lot to do. This happens to be 1.5 inches wide. So what I'm doing is I'm subtracting 1.5 inches from the back side of this stair jack so that when I'm to finish, I have 11.5 inches. So this is no longer my cut line. This is. Okay? So now when we add our extra framing to this staircase, everything's still gonna be 11.5 inches. So once you're totally framed, this is the outside of the framing. We're 11.5 inches to the outside of this frame. So I hope that makes sense. These are not our cut lines. That's simulated. This is simulated. But here's the 3 cuts I need to make. Now I'm ready to start cutting these out. So I'm going to cut these into some short lengths, clamp them together on some sawhorses, and then we'll get back to you. So hey, if you learned something, click that subscribe button. If you want to be notified of future updates, click the bell icon as well. Thanks for watching, and please join us for the next part of our video.